Right, hello. Today we're going to be talking about something very important when it comes to survival. I'm Flynn, the survival person, and today we'll be talking about how to make fire. Right, so there's some first things that you need to know about fire before you start to make one. Fire needs three things. Okay? Fuel, that would be usually the wood that you're burning. Two would be oxygen. Oxygen is the biggest thing that the fire needs. If it doesn't have air going into it, then it will not grow at all. And then the third thing, of course, is ignition. Whether it be with a match or a lighter or flint and steel, it needs something to start the spark to get the fire going. So, with fire there's actually a lot of threes. The first being those first things that you need for the fire. Now, there's also different types of sizes of wood that you need when you're building a fire. The first being tinder. Now, tinder would also include some stuff that you would put on the fire to make it grow better when it begins. Today, probably the easiest sort of tinder that you can find in your house is this dryer lint. Now, this lint, I just did a load of laundry, and I took all the lint off of it, and I took some out of my pockets too, and this is what we're going to be using to start this fire. This is what we call the tinder, along with these little twigs, about as thick as a toothpick, maybe just a little bit thicker, because you need something really small to get the fire started quickly and easily. Now, there's also a lot of things in nature that you can use as tinder. Of course, the obvious ones like birch bark and like pine needles and leaves. Now, pine needles and leaves are good, but they're not the best. And also dry grass works really well. And when using things in nature, you want to, when you collect it all together, you want to make a bird's nest looking substance to where you get it all into a small circle and make an easy way for the sparks or the match to get right in there. Now, there's also some other things that are pretty good. Different types of mushrooms are actually really good tinder, and even things like pine sap. Some really great things that you can learn just being out in nature. But today, of course, we will be using this dryer lint. Of course, there's a lot of different ways to be starting fires as well. Like I said before, like the matches or the flint and steel or the lighter. Probably the easiest would be using the lighter, but no, I don't want to say that. Probably the easiest to use is the lighter, but matches are also fine, and flint and steel is more than likely the hardest to use, but it is still very rewarding when you make that fire, and it looks cooler, of course. So, to make this fire, you're going to start with your lint and put it right in the middle of your fire pit. Now, the most important thing to remember about fire is that it's really dangerous, right? And so you want to make sure that you have a nice barrier around, whether it be some nice stones or like a fire ring at a campsite. Something very important when you're collecting stones for your fire. You cannot collect stones by a river or a creek or a lake because those stones have water in them, and when it heats up, there's water inside the stones, and when it heats up, it can cause the stones to actually explode. It's very important to know because people have gotten severely hurt. So make sure you're getting your stones from a dry place, or better yet, just use a fire ring at a campsite or something like that. So, once you have your tinder down, you want to take your tinder twigs and put them on the pile there. Now, it's very important that you don't put too much tinder on this small fire, because then you will smother it, meaning you will put too much on it and there will be no air for the fire to breathe, so to say. Now, after this tinder, the next form of fuel wood that you're going to get is called kindling. Now, kindling is just about the size of a pencil, maybe a little thicker, maybe a little thinner. And this stuff is what's really gonna make the flame a bit hotter and what will get you some nice coals. Because it's a bit thicker, and so it's going to actually burn substance instead of just burn away like a little twig. Now, another important thing to remember about fire is that it's really hard to start if your wood is wet. Now, it just rained not too long ago, but a good way to kind of make sure that your wood is dry is if you break it, it breaks easy and it has a nice snap to it. That snap is how you know that it's dry in the middle, because there's not moisture that's holding it together. Right? And so, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to know, to make sure that you're using the best stuff for your fire. Now, along with all the other things, there's also some different ways to start a fire. You can have a teepee fire, a log cabin fire, or I kind of use a combination of a lot of different methods myself, and I just kind of pile on sticks where it looks like it's needed. Now, probably for beginners, the teepee fire is probably the easiest and best one to start with, just because it's nice and easy to make, and it is just nice. So, and you can also choose whether or not you want to put all of your sticks on first and then light it, or kind of do what I do, play it by ear, have all your sticks ready, and light. What I usually do is I light the tinder, and then once I get a small flame, I will start to take some bigger and bigger sticks and pile it on there, and hope for the best. So, without further ado, let's just light this thing. So, let's just light this thing. Today I'll be using a lighter. And you just spark it there, light the tinder. Now it's a bit windy today, so let's hope that it goes. And light it in a couple different spots so you can have a couple different areas of heat going in, your different sticks and stuff. And once you start to see a good flame, you can stop, get some other small twigs, and put them on there. Now, fire can be very finicky sometimes, meaning sometimes it works really well and really easy, and other times it's just kind of a pain in the butt and it doesn't light right away. It just all depends on the situation, on the environment that you're in, and what sort of resources that you have available to you. Like I said in the survival bag cognition virtual lab, it's very important to be prepared. If I have just some basic things like that lint, a lighter, and some matches, it's gonna be a lot easier to start a fire than if I was just out in the wilderness and had nothing. So with this, I already have a good fire going, and then I can start to put on my kindling. Have some bigger sticks on there. Now, it's very important that you practice making fire before you actually go out and just do it on your own, and especially with an adult around, because it can be very dangerous. And after you practice with fire a bit, you get to know it really well. Like right now, I know that it's good enough to blow on, to put more oxygen in there, to burn hotter. See, but I wouldn't want to blow on it when it was just that little tiny flame with the tinder twigs, because I'll just blow the fire out like a candle. But because it was a little hotter and there was already some coals from those tinder twigs, I knew that I could blow on it and it would be just fine. Now, after this, after the tinder and kindling, the next step would be fuel wood. Now those are the nice big logs that you'd use to make a campfire. But I don't need to show you that because it's pretty self-explanatory. After you get a nice fire going with your kindling and tinder, you just put on the fuel logs and you have a fire. So, the most important thing to remember about fire is that it's quite dangerous. It can burn you really easy. The smoke is bad for you to breathe in and to have in your eyes. But also, it's pretty fun. So there's that. If you like the information like we've been doing in the Cognition Virtual Labs, make sure you check out the Cognition Virtual Summer Camp this year. Although it will be virtual, it will still be loads of fun. And also, make sure to check out the Cognition temporary gift shop in the new building. Because, well, I like cool stuff, you like cool stuff, so go and buy some cool stuff. Alright, and with that, I hope you have a great day. Go out and do something today. And I'll see you next time.